sign-up sheet for farmer's market, by the way. I need to check the dates I signed up.
I believe,
I do.
she has a new one that has the Saturday dates on it as
Before I
well.
leave, so that I don't miss a commitment.
Okay, calling to order the regular meeting of the Charter Revision Commission for June 11th, 2025. Good evening, everyone. May we have a vote?
Brown. Cochran.
Here.
Hoganson. Here. Knopfschneider. Metz. Here. Neal.
Present.
Paholka.
Here.
Weaver. Here.
Okay, looks like we are approving 3 sets of minutes this evening.
Can we go to Jim's? I'm sorry, it's not on your agenda, but we have
The
a
resolution to
resolution
excuse.
excusing Jim, yeah.
Absolutely.
Motion to excuse Brown.
Second.
Okay. Have a voice vote, all in favor of approving the resolution to excuse Jim Brown, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Resolution is approved. Okay, minutes of unless anyone has any major objections, is there anything on April 9th, additions, corrections, or deletions for minutes? For April 23rd? Or for May 4th? Hearing none, they have a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, we are doing them as a collective. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay. Farmers market update. I asked Brian to give us a little rundown on how things are going. What are you really seeing from the public and so on, and your ideas.
I'm not seeing a whole lot of engagement.
I got a whole lot of engagement, but maybe not about the charter.
Yeah, I got an earful.
People have a whole lot of opinions, but I think
Nothing about the charter.
zero. And even when I explained what the charter was, I still got a lot of nothing pertaining to that.
Yeah, so we have a,
Opinions about construction, factories, stop signs,
theater parking lots.
oh, all kinds of stuff.
5 people were irate about that last week.
Oh, in the social
city-
district, I
city
got an
buying
earful
it?
about the new social
Turned
district.
it into a damn park.
Oh,
It's got,
okay.
it's already a parking lot.
Yeah, well, they want the lot part, they don't just want the first half.
Nobody parks there now, but.
I don't know if we're gaining anything by being there. I know, a little bit is better than nothing.
I handed out like 40 bookmarks. I don't know if they are getting used.
Yeah. You're a more outgoing person than me, so that.
Well, yeah, yes, I love to chit chat.
Be a little bit, I won't tackle people. I'm not sure.
I didn't tackle anyone. I tackled one person one time.
One day, hog tie one person and then suddenly you're the hog tire.
Oh my.
Maybe once Saturday start up, it'll get better, but, right now, I'm not seeing a lot of payback on it. Keep trying.
I wonder if, I think a built-in challenge to what we're doing is that many people are just going to see the word city on it and assume that we have the ear of the city, and they don't really understand the relationship of our commission to the city. I wonder if something like it's part of signage or our setup or our displays at the event that says something to the effect of, Charter Revision Commission, separate from the city of Big Rapids, but, something that provides a little bit of context that they can see when they're walking up, so that instead of kind of it going in one ear and out the other, oh, we're not really operating in a city capacity. We're here to educate you about guidelines we're making.
I'd love to assume that would be correct, but even after I explain what the charter is, the constitution of the city, the guidelines, blah, blah, blah,
Not sinking in, huh?
it's not. I think people come in, they see city and they come in going, well, I wanna talk to them about this. So when I say, oh, that's not us, we are just revising this, updating it, modernizing it.
Yep. And it doesn't stop them, does it?
No, but interesting
Yeah, I hear it.
conversations have been had.
Well, maybe, would it be helpful to maybe write some of that stuff down and we can contact those people? I mean, if
I
there's
don't
a-
think any of those people wanted us to contact them.
Oh, okay.
Conversely, maybe this is telling the city that the city needs to have their own kiosk
Oh,
at the farmer's market, and then you can say, look, there it is right there, that's the person to talk to.
well, it was kind of funny
You
too,
know,
'cause
maybe there, maybe
almost
Fred
an
Gunther should
information booth at
have
one point too,
a
like,
day that,
Fred Gunther should sit out there, is that what you're saying?
Well,
Yes.
absent that, though, what I'm wondering is maybe there is an opportunity to, if the city will give us some kind of information and or contact or feedback form that they already,
oh, like if they had a,
if they have a feedback form they're already using, that might be a
give them
way to
that instead.
triage those, is to pass that to them and say, I'll make sure I carry this to the city on your behalf, your comments will be seen and noted. But I can't really take them, I'm not operating in an official capacity for the city.
right.
And then that way it kind of, they may not wanna write it down and walk away. I think most people sometimes just wanna bend somebody's ear.
Yes,
Especially if it's out of frustration. But this might be a way to let them feel heard if the city is willing to take those comments in that form. And then let us get back to the subject at hand, especially if there are multiple people gathered there instead of being locked in conversation with somebody about something we can't do.
There's not multiple people gathering. For sure, that's not happening. And Brian's right, it's more, people are not approaching the booth, it's more like if they make eye contact with me, I'm like, hi, and then I'm doing my thing. So nobody, maybe 2 or 3 people approached the booth without me.
Coercion is the term.
Yeah, come on, I was friendly.
Gimmick, we need a.
Without me like engaging in conversation. I don't think our booth would get any traffic.
Enter here.
There was
for
never a
chance
crowd.
to win free ice cream at,
I'm gonna bring dog biscuits. We have candy, but I'm gonna bring dog biscuits. At least I can get the dogs over, I can pet them.
Yeah.
Well, you can get their owners. You get
Yes.
the dogs, you get the owners.
And the dog people were
This, this just underscores the challenge that we know we've had since the very beginning of time, which is trying to inform
illicit interest, like get
people,
people.
elicit interest. It's difficult, since they don't really quite understand how city commission works anyway, so anything to do with the city is, you're already wandering into the quagmire, I suppose, so, and
Go ahead, I'm
I
sorry.
was just thinking, my mind is always going to just keep the term charter out there, even if it's getting in subliminally.
Yeah,
Because I simply don't want them to be like, what's this, when we ask them to vote.
That's what I'm worried about.
And who was I talking with earlier about, at some point, we can start planning some public input meetings or some public information meetings where we don't have to always bring them here. Maybe go over to the sawmill. Have a beer or whatever, talk to people about city, how the city's running with this. It's a tough road to hoe.
well, I think part of the problem is it's a lot of people who are involved with it as closely as we are, explaining it in the best terms that we have on the fly. Maybe another thing that would benefit besides just getting the term charter out there, if we could do some kind of explainer, like animated explainer video or something that's brief, which I know we struggled with on the survey, but taking a couple of steps back, maximum like height and distance from this, right? What is a charter? How does it serve the city? What does it mean that it's being revised? What is the opportunity for input? And maybe because I see here like a couple of things that we've sort of listed on this Your Voice Matters sheet. something that's kind of at this removed a level. It just gives very basic information and is kind of visually engaging, and to get better recall out of that than you do out of Jen's or Brian.
I got two things on that. Stacy has written a couple of scripts for us. We're gonna get them on TikTok. But the thing with doing all that is, how do we get the eyeballs in front of that video? How do we get the eyeballs to see this stuff we're doing?
Yeah, I talked to a lot of people, and the number of people who'd be willing to stay and engage further, I had maybe 4 or 5 people that would have done that. Out of like the 30, maybe 40 I talked to.
I mean, the main
Not all those people live in the city limits.
I would
either.
ask them that. I always asked them that. But yeah, I actually had some good conversations with people who didn't live in the city.
the main
Great
tool,
conversations with people.
treat that video as multi-platform content, so get it on all the social channels,
Yeah, that's-
TikTok.
Who's doing the TikTok?
Pardon?
Who's doing the TikTok?
I think it's gonna be me, because nobody else wants to volunteer.
Go for it.
Yeah,
So,
You know, I'm thinking, when you're talking video and animation, my mind is all going to Schoolhouse Rock.
and that's kind of
it's a
where
bill.
I'm getting at.
Yeah, we need to find an animator though. Does anyone know?
You can hire some folks, you know, to do stuff like that. It really depends on the scale of what you want and how busy you want it to be. There are some AI and other tools out there to help you kind of self-create one, but it's probably not gonna have the polish that a really good one would. You'd wanna, you know, find some royalty-free music or some other things too that you can add to it. So there's probably a little bit of cost involved in that. I could explore it further. But I was thinking almost something like sitting there on an iPad running.
Maybe. I don't even know if you'd see it though. It's so bright out
And
there.
if they're not standing around to really converse.
No, and if you're not selling something, like I was on coffee and bakery, and the bakery I was beside was very delicious, by the way. Not that I ate stuff, but I ate stuff.
prices are good.
Yeah. So I would just get them if they were hitting there and then going to the next. And I did have people who were like, don't make eye contact. I could see, they were like, oh, when she makes eye contact, she's talking to you, do not look at her.
I think part of the challenge is if there's nothing to look at on the table besides paper, they know you want, like, they think you want a signature on a petition.
Yeah.
Or like it's a political thing or something like that. I'm kind of trying to think of like, could we have some freebies? Could we have some stuff so that people stop and engage with it the same way they're engaging with the other retail kiosks?
No, I think our biggest chance, unfortunately, is our riskiest chance, and it's we have to get people to talk about it on their own to their friends, right? Without us being there. And the way that we do that, I think, is like the volunteer board thing, where it's like, hey,
Brian
we're
did have
proposing
stuff for
something
that.
controversial, and we need people to talk about it. And I mean, I think that the risk that we have is that when you sit down and you talk with someone, like, for example, I'm like, you know, we had the survey went out and I posted to my Facebook and I was talking to my mom about it, and she's like, well, I don't think people should get to serve more than 12 years. And it's like, well, when I actually explain the nuance of it, then she's like, oh, well, that makes sense. But it's like getting someone to that point.
Yeah.
Like everyone in
have
Big
to sit
Rapids
down
will
and have a
agree with us,
Yeah.
right? With the decision, I can't say everyone, but enough people in Big Rapids would agree with the changes that we're making, but we can't get to the point of them understanding what
Yeah.
those changes are. And it doesn't matter whether we spend $1 million on an animation or, you know, give them free beer
Right.
in the parking lot.
Yeah.
We have to get
Can we
people
do
to
that
talk
though? I would
about
like to
it.
do that.
I think the difficulty is that they're not coming with any foundation of understanding to begin with.
And
There
that's
are
not gonna
many,
change.
Many people, I mean, I was thinking about that on the way over here, how resistant that is.
I agree with
This is like a resistant virus that will not be eradicated.
Well, that's just it though. It feels like that, but what it really is inattention. It's that simple.
Well, and you know, I think, you know, in,
Feels kind of
my,
like
my
apathy,
theory
though.
about this is that generally, if things are not seriously broken, people are busy living their lives.
They're
I'm
not
not
gonna
sure
care
that
about
it-
it until it goes to
Until, like,
vote.
yeah,
You know, we
And then they're
feel-
gonna try to like quick figure out where they stand on it in a
Yeah.
second and make a gut decision. And our job is to basically try to get them prepared before that.
I disagree a little bit, though. We filled rooms here a couple of times talking about old jail. Nice to serve on the board of. I think, and part of what distinguishes that effort from what we're doing right now is it was getting consistent news coverage in the Pioneer. So I wonder if something that we.
It was also imminent, right? It seemed like,
Yeah.
show up to this meeting
And this
or the
doesn't have
old jail is
that.
gonna get bulldozed tomorrow.
This
And then it's like,
doesn't
oh, God, and we
have-
didn't get like hundreds of people, we got like 40 people.
This
which is
doesn't
good,
have
but-
that same quality of urgency, but it does, I think, behoove us if we can maybe get some coverage with the Pioneer to talk about what is under consideration right now, and maybe just as an FYI to the public that we are going to start reaching out to members of the community for input. Maybe we even start, you know, we talked about having little Q&A sessions, focus groups, stuff like that. Maybe we kick one off and ask for,
Where would you think we should have it, and what context would you think we should have it that it would work the best?
I'm tempted not to say here at City Hall, just because I think some people may view it as, I don't know, unwanted, or maybe less likely to attend in some place in the city where they'd be more likely to go for a social gathering or something like that. Maybe we can find out scheduling for the Pocket Park or some other, you know.
Yeah, I was
place,
thinking
maybe-
like Mitchell Creek Park would also,
Yeah.
someplace that's outdoor visible, I think, and isn't as intimidating, like, it's hard to believe, but I'm sure there are people that just aren't familiar with City Hall in general. They don't know where it is, they don't know where this room is, they're just anxious about,
yeah.
am I gonna be able to escape if I don't wanna be there anymore, you
It's
know?
associated with paying their taxes.
Yeah.
Or paying their bills. But I'm thinking, you know, if we can either hold something at,
Library maybe?
the library, would probably be a good place. Yeah,
I mean, I think
And I
Pocket
know-
Park is better, like, I just think it's more visible.
It's just so weather dependent.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like same thing with like Mitchell Creek Park. It's like it's more visible. It's visible on State Street. If like we're giving away hot dogs at Mitchell Creek Park, you know, and we have a little microphone that people can talk into so that people can be heard, then people are gonna see it. Be like, what's going on over there? And even if they don't attend, they might be like, oh, it was about this, and then they still might get the issue, right?
I'm just not hopeful, just based on my interaction from the farmer's market, that nobody, not one single person I talked to, and I talked to like 30, 40 people, knew what the charter was, even after I explained it. They were still wanting to talk about Goshen and,
Yeah, like it's never, we can't make it become an issue for people. It's not going to become an issue for people.
like, how do we make
until
it
they're in the
something
voting
they're
booth.
interested in, more interested in?
okay.
Or maybe we don't focus as much on that and we focus on people aren't gonna care until it's time to vote and they get the ballot in the
And make sure
mail,
we write it in
and
a
then
way
they
that-
see it. And then we focus our energy on, you know, making TikTok videos to put out on the website and link to it on the city Facebook page. And basically like the number of times I've seen something on a ballot and I'm like, I have no idea what this is. I Google it and I get nothing. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's gonna be a no. But if we make sure we're getting like the links out and stuff like that and using like the same keywords over and over again. So if someone does a search for City of Big Rapids charter, it's gonna pop up with like all these listings. It's gonna be short videos for like specific topics, the top 4 or 5 things that we have issues with. And then we didn't get their involvement along the process, but then they can get that information really quickly and be like, this is why they wanna do it this way. Yeah, I'm okay with that, and then they might vote for.
That's an interesting concept, right? Like, almost like booth-ready information.
Yeah.
You have that somebody could look up.
I feel like that's terrible. I'd much rather have people involved, but you can't fix that. But if we know
Yeah,
this
that's
is
a
what
good
people
point. I
do
don't,
right before voting, and ultimately that's what we want is for them to vote.
I mean, meet them folks where they are, right?
yeah, we can't make people be interested, but if people are interested and then go searching on their own, I think that's a really good
They need to
point.
be able to find it, because seeing something on the ballot and not being able to find anything about it, why would someone vote for what you're trying to do?
Okay.
Might bear to ask, him about, you know, is there anything that we can do to, pardon me, to do more like tagging or targeting for our portion of the website, to drive traffic there, make it more accessible via search, wording, stuff like that. Just kind of let him know, maybe Stacy and I could talk to him about what the goals are and see what.
Worth having a conversation.
And I think
Okay.
changing that now might not be the best thing to do.
Oh, we'd
as
want to
we get
plan
closer
for
to
it,
elections.
like, yeah, you're.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want the sign up sheet for the farmer's market? I added the Saturday dates on here.
Yeah, we can, anybody wanna do Saturdays?
I'm willing to do Saturdays. When does that start?
July
July
5th.
5th?
July 5th? Yeah, I'm willing to do some
August.
Saturdays in July or August. I have also signed up for like a day upcoming and I want to make sure I know when it is
Yeah.
and that I haven't
June
goofed.
27th, I think.
27.
You're on there.
Didn't choose that day because it's our anniversary. Okay. Good thoughts. What are your TikToks about? Are you focused on a particular question for the TikToks?
Stacy, what were the two that you did? I don't,
Like 30-second?
I did one for the boards, I think.
Or board membership?
Yeah. I don't remember what the other one was.
I'm looking. I hope I'm gonna find it. On my laptop at home.
Well, don't worry about it. Let me know when you find it.
The other one was term limits
Term limits?
and like the consecutive terms between the mayor and commissioners.
Okay. We shall continue thinking on that and working on that and figure out what we can do it. Committee reports.
I hear you whispering.
Sorry, Ann. I've caught you in a bad time.
Uh,
Don't have great
Stacy, you want to
responses on this either. All right,
You'll all know
Survey.
that I have provided you with a packet, that is a report of the survey responses to date. We have 26 total respondents. Bunch that came out after we originally promoted it, sort of a trickle, and then I would say a handful in the last sort of 3 to 4 weeks that probably somebody that you guys spoke with at the farmer's market took action. I have omitted, I cleaned this of their personal data and stuff like that since I was gonna be providing it in an open meeting. If we want to, dig into like the individual responses better or associating like a trend across responses by looking at like single line respondent information, we have the capacity to do that. I just didn't think it was super beneficial here in a setting where we want to detach the people's personally identifiable information. As you can see, majority of respondents are from City of Big Rapids and are age 18 or older, making them eligible for the survey. 80% were willing to be contacted, so that might be an indication of how we might form an early support group or somehow leverage that group with engagement to maybe promote the kind of conversations that you're talking about, Foster. We had a number of free responses relating to the sort of spirit or values common among the city residents, and you can kind of read those as is. I don't necessarily think it benefits me to I characterize them, but ethics guiding local government, same, a bunch of free responses we may wanna look at, taking those and creating some kind of objective summary of them, but I haven't started at that work. As far as the specific revisions under consideration, to residency requirements, basically the majority of folks do not support them. 23% yes, 50% no, 19% don't know, need more information. And then a couple of people kind of yes, but with qualifications that I'm not sure we would be able to achieve in the charter anyway, like if they live within a certain distance, are in town a certain amount of time, et cetera. Where statutes permit it, should people who reside outside of city limits but own a business or secondary residence be able to serve on city boards? People are a little bit more open to that, but kind of, again, with qualifications. Majority still felt no, but some people kind of said, well, but you could do more to encourage them to show up, give input, et cetera. So I think, on the whole, we don't have a lot of support for non-residents taking action on boards that impact residents of the city.
You wonder if you would sit down and talk with people and say, you know, in order to serve on a board, you have to show up to board meetings in person, how that would change their perspective, because they're like, yeah, no, just because you own a business in Big Rapids but you live in Montana, it doesn't mean you should be able to serve on the Parks and Rec Board. Well, you can't, because you can't attend the board meetings remotely. You have to be in Big Rapids, you know, so it's like where they're like, oh, you have to live so close to Big Rapids. Well, I would assume they would live pretty close to Big Rapids if they're gonna travel here for a board meeting in person.
This is
Right,
anecdotal,
but
and
like,
I think
You see what
that
I'm saying?
there is sort of a
Like, that's our hurdle,
missing
essentially.
the obvious part of this. But I will say, it's anecdotal, I've talked to a handful of people on this specific front, and their concerns are not somebody in Montana attending these meetings remotely. Their concerns are somebody who's not a full-time resident of the city, but maybe has a business or other interest here, somebody such as a landlord, who maybe lives 60 miles away and can commute up here for meetings, somehow using the system of government in their favor. And that's distinct, I
I
would say.
mean, that would be the same
That's-
thing as
that's
someone
something that's-
living out of state. It's like, again, like the requirements for somebody to sit on a board.
But to get here, it would be a lot more plausible for them,
Yeah,
and that's the
it would.
specific thing they're worried about, is somebody who lives in Howard City but has a professional or other interest, potentially at the expense of city residents, picking out a spot on a board via a change in this. Again, it's just anecdotal, it's just the people.
I get that, but I feel like the longer you have that conversation and the more you explain, well, they would have to get approved by the commission, they would have to make an oath on, that they're gonna do what's in the interest of the community. Like, there's all of these things already in place that they don't know about, and the more you are like, they'd have to do this, and this, then you start taking all the legs out from their argument, and all of a sudden they're like, well, if all that was in place, then I would be fine with it.
They don't stick around that long for the argument.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's the hurdle. Is like, it's not that people don't wanna it's not that people wouldn't agree with what we're proposing, it's that we can't get their ear long enough to explain the nuances of it.
So I would just say, in the interest of the report here, things that we can earmark
Yeah.
for follow-up
It's-
as far as how we do education around them.
Certainly telling that, you know, the second question has a little over 10% more support, right, in the pie for yes than the first one.
Honestly, I would have anticipated there would be more for the first one. I really think that, I know a lot of people who would be excellent contributors to city boards who work, play, and spend the majority of their time in the city but happen to live in township. So I'm kind of taken aback, but I think those divisions are more meaningful to some folks than they are to others too, so.
It's just whatever logic people approach it with, right? They're like, oh, well, if you owned a business, then you've got a stake in the community. Which is like, if you work here, you have a stake in the community too, but whatever.
As to how many consecutive terms a city commissioner should be permitted to serve, we got kind of majority two was the response. After that, 3. A little bit of confusion, people not knowing, because again, we omitted those sort of educational parts of the survey. People not knowing, people offering a random maximum, things like that. I just did 1 through 4 on the general answer and then don't know, need more information. Some people self-filled some additional answers there, which I think is fine, gets perspective, but majority there is for 2, which actually is
One less.
one less than what they can currently serve, so we may wanna take that under consideration. How many consecutive terms should a mayor be able to serve? 2 is the majority response to that. Shortly thereafter, 3, so if anything, maybe a little bit more support for, greater number of terms. When asked if term limit should consider a candidate's previous service as a city commissioner separately from service as mayor, answer was overwhelmingly yes, 65%. Resign to run, should commissioners be required to resign to run? Overwhelmingly no, 61.5%.
I find that one kind of surprising. Not like shocking, but like, just like, I don't know, I would have been 50-50 on which way that would have leaned.
I think the people who are versed enough in this to kind of, maybe know some of the folks who are representing them and remember a little bit of history of people who've served on the commission and stuff like that, maybe appreciate.
Yeah, even though the
the-
previous page, they don't know how long a term is.
They might have a fond memory of a person that they connected with who was a representative of the city commission, but not necessarily know all the their twos and why fours
Yeah.
of the commission itself. Finally, sort of wrapping back around to what Brian and Amy have noted, we have a thank you very much for your time paragraph, and then offer responses or input on items that we didn't address. Very clear paragraph explaining that our purview is not all city works, and of course, we got 2 full printed pages of feedback on things not really related to the charter. And for that, I can only say, we got a couple of very nice people who thanked us for our service as well.
That's nice.
But yeah, overall, not nearly as,
All ties outside the city.
there's some interesting rabbit holes to go down in those comments. So all in all, not nearly enough responses, I think we all agree, but as many as we were able to get, at least so far. I'd be open to looking at ways to put this in front of people outside of just the online, whether we simplify this survey and have a written one or, you know, something where you put X's or check marks on a spreadsheet or something at the booth and, you know, but I think.
I think there is a problem with, you know, they're making these decisions absent full understanding of what currently exists. And I do, you know, we are getting onto a tight timeline now of about 6 months. We need to submit to the AG's office, so we need to make a decision about, it is within our purview, we are raising all these questions, we don't have to make any changes if we don't want to. I think we had agreed these were issues that were worth pursuing, because we understand, for example, with the boards, how difficult it is to get volunteers to serve. And when you don't have full boards, you don't have a fully functioning government. It's all kind of tied in together. What you've shared with us from farmers market, this, you know, the whole big picture is just, and it's not an uncommon problem. I probably know municipalities across the whole country are dealing with the same things. You know, government is just not that glamorous, you know, except for nerds like me. I won't even insult you by calling you a nerd, but nerds like me. But in any case, yeah, ways to, so, you know, we need to be thinking about, as we're getting through the summer, whether or not we want to take this up, how much more energy we want to spend on getting, you know, responses. I did get, I think I sent you Commissioner James's response about the boards, and I also got a text message from a couple in the city. And, you know, so Lorraine's was pretty positive. The other one was like, no, flatly no. So again, in following the pattern, the responses that we're getting. So let's just be thinking about that, how we want to move forward with this, as we are focusing on getting the verbiage down that we want to get down. Thank you very much for this, Ann. This is huge, hugely helpful.
It is, but it also isn't, because it's 26 people, but.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that it's 26 people and this thing's been up for like 7 months now, and, you know, we put things in the paper, we put things in the newsletter, I've been on the radio a few times, like, tell us what you think, we need your input.
I think in some ways, okay, so what do you guys think? You go to the ballot box, something's on the ballot that you just missed it, you didn't realize it was gonna be on the ballot. Do you vote with your gut or leave it blank? You do. I vote with my gut.
I vote with my gut usually.
I blank a lot. If I don't know anything, like,
Say pass, yeah.
I pass, you know.
If I don't
Wayne
know.
State University trustees, I don't vote for that, cause,
Oh,
yeah, don't get, why am I voting for somebody that I don't know?
So, I mean, not that I think we're gonna have any, rhetorical way of divining the answer, but the reason I asked the question is because we don't need to get 10,000 votes.
Right.
We just need to have more yays than nays,
Exactly so.
right? Like,
Exactly
if
so.
it's 26 to 25,
well, and this is about
And
us
the
doing our
concern-
due diligence, right? Making sure we get the word out there, we try to engage the public as much as possible.
Yeah, although I think the way we've really talked about it is actually informing us and the decisions that we make, you know, as far as the modifications are making.
I do think the questions about the values and ethics, there are some patterns that emerged out of that language we can build. They already be in the preamble that we did, now that I'm thinking about it, but we should be able to come up with a preamble that I think.
I think we could go through and number responses based on what, you know, are there specific themes in it, and then aggregate, add up sort of how many of those mentions we have and approach it that way.
I mean, certainly, you know, things like transparency came up a lot.
Transparency, integrity, inclusion.
Respect for all citizens, inclusiveness. So yeah, I mean, some of the, we can call out of that, I think, for the preamble pretty easily. Nice to know that there's some consistency there. Okay, thank you very, very much. So we kind of already answered question A from old business. As far as, well, the preamble we talked about, as far as chapters 3 and 5, and those have to do with term limits and what was chapter 3? I forget what chapter 3 is. Oh, the plan of government. We don't have to decide that right now, but as we're going forward and starting to work on these, we can revisit that.
I just kind of feel like at this stage that it's kind of a blood from a turnip thing for me. I would be interested, I guess, and see, it doesn't matter to me how long we leave it open or out there, if it's a tool for engagement, but maybe we need to shift away from thinking of it as our primary tool and start doing some of the focus group, library, mini town hall, things like that as a means of engaging people, or whether we get good feedback or input from them at it, or whether it just gets them off talking to other people about it in their own lives. That's the direction we need to
Yeah,
go
it's those like dinner table conversations that like, I think, you know, spread the word essentially. Somebody heard about it at their office and they want to tell their significant other and, you know.
If it wasn't such an important thing, I would say we need to do some kind of guerrilla marketing campaign, like, can you believe what these people are getting up to and trying to change?
That's what I'm
Like,
saying,
you know, stir up some outrage.
I mean, in some ways, I mean, I think that like that and like just bribing people, right? Like, I mean, not like, we're gonna give you $5 to vote for it, but I will give you a hot dog.
Foster.
If you come and
I will
listen
give
to
you a
me
hot dog to
talking-
come listen, yeah, you know what I mean, like, that incentive. Like, no hot dogs.
No hot dogs.
No $5, no $5.
Yeah, I mean, that's like,
That's actually illegal, it's like.
yeah, I know.
We know that this is not.
I know, but don't even throw that out in the, yeah.
I just mean like, you're creating an incentive for people to engage with you.
I know you're
Yeah.
kidding, but there's a lot of people who don't get that.
Well, you know, context.
Set up at the pocket.
I know, but
Hot dogs. I don't know how we do it, but I think we do need to figure out
Okay,
some way to
we'll
engage.
give that some thought.
I mean, you know, like I think those are the two biggest motivators is you give people food or you incite them with sensationalism. Not like I like either of them particularly. I mean, I think
That
I like
makes me a
food
little
more than
nervous.
sensationalism. But I'm sorry.
I'll give their dogs a biscuit, that's as far as I'll go.
Of course, I don't know if that's gonna get us accused of favoritism of dogs over cats.
Right, yes, it might.
If you bring your cat,
People versus
you get
the-
a treat too.
Maybe we should propose some kind of,
Cat treats too, I don't know.
Tell them, bring your cat down here and I'll give them cat treats.
maybe we should propose some kind of, you know, should dogs be able to serve on boards? Or cats, you know?
Foster, I love it.
Yeah, right?
I'm
Because
not kidding.
that's not really like,
It's a
controversial,
great entree to the conversation,
yeah,
right?
that's what I mean, right? Without it actually being like dangerous.
Oh,
They're
don't
electing the
think.
dogs, they're electing the
Yeah.
cats,
Yeah,
they're electing the
Okay.
pets.
I mean,
We got some good ideas flying here.
Mayors in the US.
yes, that's true.
Put
So-
that out there.
What's that?
so you're saying maybe this is dangerous?
It might not be a safe question, because I would definitely vote for a dog.
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't trust a cat.
What about a fish?
He is right.
Like, where do you draw the line?
maybe-
They're good at picking stocks.
Okay,
Maybe that is something that we could do though, we have to plan it really carefully, not to undermine people's sense of our
seriousness.
and our approach to this.
Yeah.
But if we had one thing that's within our power to slip in that is controversial, that
I can
No, we're
bring a
not
dog to the
considering.
farmer's market.
I mean, it's just funny, it's like, yeah, it's like we're,
should good dogs be allowed to run for mayor of city,
yeah.
right?
I'm afraid
And-
of it.
And it's like, and as we're asking them that, we're like feeding their dog treats.
But it's not even, it's not even specified.
I'm not going there. I'm not doing that.
I'm just saying, it's an opening question, it's like a headline. It's a complete disconnect, but
It's a
if
temptation.
it gets people's buy-in and it gets people talking at a very basic level about what the charter does.
And it
That's
puts them
half
on the
of
right
our-
track of like, this is within the realm of the charter, right? Like, we
I think you're kind of assuming all people are nice and have good senses of humor, and that's not the encounters I had either. So I'm not messing with any headlines amongst the public. Some people were very
Okay.
passionate about things we have no control over, and I wanted the conversation to stop yesterday. So I would not play, is what I'm saying.
yeah.
Okay. Good thoughts, good ideas, let's keep working on that. All right. Item B under old business, just clarifying the path forward for Mr. Reddick's input. You all had that email. George Ellsworth in the AG's office is suggesting February of 2026 to give us the time for the turnaround before it has to be approved by the county clerk for the ballot. So that gives us, what, from now?
6 months.
6
6 months, 7 months? Okay. So I think what the idea that I believe was suggested at an earlier meeting was, and I think this was among Stacy's list of things to target per meeting, right? Go back to the ones where we really haven't made a decision yet, and we're still hashing out the idea, looking at the language, let's see if we can get those out of the way.
And advertise those with the newsletter, right? We know that we're talking about section
Yeah, and did you, was
3
your?
or section 8, that like, we can say in the newsletter, we're talking about this at the next meeting, if you care about this.
Yeah. Was this your
Show up.
idea or somebody's idea to keep putting these in the
Well,
newsletter?
we did that for this meeting.
Yeah, the public yeah,
And
I got
that
all
was
of
We appear to have driven one of our own members away.
that was the topic that had the most feedback from people.
yeah.
I know Lorraine saw that in the newsletter,
Oh,
and she was like, "You didn't tell me about this." I was like, "Well, we're gonna see if it works." So that's when she responded.
and that's,
But
the couple that I got, which is Greg and Terry Denny, sent me the text, in response to the newsletter as well.
but we had 2 responses and no one showed up. So if that's like our highlighted topic, where like this is something that people actually seem to care about and are willing to converse on. I don't know that
I'd only say this is a tricky time of year too.
Yes.
It's summer, it's early summer, a lot of people are having opportunities to get out for the first time. It maybe behooves us to withhold judgment a little bit for a couple of months until,
Yeah, I just don't know that we're gonna have as much of a hook
yeah,
for the other topics, and then once you get through summer, it's back to school, and then it's the holidays, and then we have to be wrapped up, so we're gonna have issues regardless.
Well, like, as I said, at some point, we have to draw the line. We're either going to go forward with this despite what we heard, or we're not going to because of what we've heard. And we'll just have to make those decisions. Again, bearing in mind, the term limits, or the term limits issue is a hot topic that can derail us if we're not careful. And who sits on boards is also a hot topic. People have kind of strong feelings on either side of that. So, those are decisions that we're gonna have to make as we work through this and as we get to that point.
something that I didn't think of, I'm so sorry to interrupt. They are hot topics, but we have pretty clear input so far on this. maybe sharing some of the content of this report will spur people who have differences of opinion on to engage with us better.
Good idea.
That might even be fodder for a TikTok. X percentage of survey respondents so far support.
Is this something I could take to the farmer's market and if people were asking, show them? Is that?
I'd like to make it a little bit more palatable. This is kind of just
Internal.
internal, no context for
That's what
people
I'm asking.
who already know, but I could make you something like that.
Well, it's Friday.
I can't make you
2
something
days.
like it for this Friday.
Right.
But for a future Friday.
Sure.
I think that would be useful and have the chart and be like, do you agree or disagree? And then have just like individual questions. at
I
the
will
table,
say
and,
I only
like,
had like 1 or 2 people that would have looked at it anyway, but that's 1 or 2 people.
What if it wasn't on a page like this? What if it was a display or some kind of like on a frame for
Maybe.
the table you're sitting
I
at?
feel like you'd really only want like one.
The other thing is it does
One or
get windy
two.
and we lose
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
It does get windy and we lose stuff. I was chasing papers for a minute. And then
This
it
would be
happened.
like something I'd have like on like a foam core backer or an easel or something that would be pretty reliable. And it would be like maybe 1 or 2 of these
Yeah.
pie charts where we think we stand to
Yeah, maybe for
best
the
engagement.
big issues we're looking for input on, having that up and displayed would be a good.
And this is what people are saying so far, and then it
And
gives.
it's not such a broad topic.
Yeah.
Now we can discuss specifically term limits or, you know.
And instead of it being define the charter for all of them and then
Yes.
explain why it has nothing to do with what they don't like about wastewater or whatever, it's just, here's an issue, zoom in on this issue, and then we can take some steps back out and talk about
That's actually
other
a
types.
pretty good idea.
We have some, I think, good sized frames upstairs that we might be able to take whatever's in them out and you could post whatever you wanna put in there and people could dry erase.
Could I eyeball them with you after the meeting?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can run up and look and say, and we don't really know what's up there, some of them we won't be able to probably do it, but sometimes that's nice, cause it's heavier too and you're not chasing things, but you
That's what I was like, almost like a rolling whiteboard or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Sorry,
No,
please
that's
continue.
fine, that's good. Good. Okay, we wanna be looking at section 8.10. 13.3, that's the purchasing. I'm gonna make a copy of that Mr. Reddick sent us, did he?
which,
Everybody got a copy of the revision document that with Ron Reddick's
it's
responses.
this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the back of the packet. The last. This is my.
So it is.
Thank you.
Because everybody else is pleased to see such a
Yes.
coherent and capable set of responses as we received from Mr. Reddick.
And timely.
Exactly what we were hoping for.
Okay. So I just want to ask you, how are you feeling about what he suggested? It looks like the principal change he was making was to qualify clearly indicate when the annual adjustment occurs and what type of index is used to determine the rate of inflation. Does that make sense to you?
Wait, can you get me onto the page?
Yeah, but I thought we were kind of moving away from that direction. So I don't know how much time we should spend on that if we're going to, I think we need to take a look at Foster's notes first and see how we can change it so that way the commission can update regularly, but still have some
Some guidelines, some guardrails.
off the rails.
That's, I agree, like,
Does this,
Yeah, I think he just doesn't, I just don't think he's had the benefit of hearing our conversation or a larger explication of what we're considering here.
Yeah.
So I,
This is not your wording, is it?
No, that's just, we made some changes to, like, originally,
Yeah,
and then we tried to go back to it, and then we didn't get that far,
So
and then
now-
I responded via email a couple
we
of
haven't,
times, I
we
think.
just haven't even drafted this
but
section.
you had draft, like kind of redrafted those
Yeah,
paragraphs, I remember.
Yeah, and
So
I'm
we
sure
can
that he would
draft
find lots of
this
stuff to
so
fix
that he
there
can
too,
offer
but I think that we just have to have a broader discussion of, we talked about moving toward the ordinance concept, which I'm generally for, but like Stacy was saying, I still kind of think that as much as I want to give them a lot of this power via ordinance, I also think that we should have some guardrails in place that like, I don't think that like Big Rapids is going to elect a dog, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't still consider possible ways that people could intentionally throw the community under the bus because they don't like some other commissioner or the mayor or whoever, and so then they abstain and there are not enough people to put the ordinance through, and then the city can't buy anything until,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
How about this? Can we, because this section, we really haven't revised even to reflect our intended approach to this. Can we revise it and then look for the types of potholes that you're talking about? And or if we need to add further guardrails? I'm just thinking, leading the thinking with that, it might be better for us to get down first the shape that we do want this section to take.
I think a lot of what is in this section is gonna go away. So I think we're wasting our time if we do that. I almost feel like this section might be a good like subcommittee type of thing, because it's gonna require a lot of discussion, more than I think is worthwhile to have as the whole group. But then potentially meeting with commissioners or the treasurer or other people who make some of those decisions and see what would actually work within the process, what they're okay with, what the actual issues are. I know we had several instances of pain points on the actual purchasing side, but there's no discussion about how many purchase requests actually have to go to the city commission and how much time they spend on that rather than focusing on other things, and just getting a better full picture to determine what actually would work.
Maybe we do a special session or something with the folks from the city and the commission who could weigh in and give
I
us.
think I'd like to have the discussion without the city commission first.
Well, I'm just saying, pull those people in, but have several discussions beforehand, try to wordsmith it, and then see if it works for everyone. And revise that way, but doing that in one of these meetings isn't really realistic at that point.
I would agree. Who wants to do that?
Subcommittee?
Subcommittee?
Yeah, I'll subcommittee.
I'll work with you on that. We do have, we have the input that we got from the city commission. We know that they are very supportive and interested in moving the amount stuff to an ordinance. But, I think what we can start with what you wrote.
Yeah, I mean,
Start
at
with
least as
that.
like a discussion of like,
Yeah.
I'm open to like, oh yeah, we don't need that, like, let's throw that idea out, okay, fine. But like, I wanna explore those ideas
Yeah.
instead of just, the city commission wants to do it this way, and I'm kinda like,
Yeah.
eesh.
Well, we want to get, maybe go back to some of the department heads, get their input on that.
Yeah.
And I would even do that before we talk to the
Yeah, like,
commission
it's
per
hard for me
se.
to remember exactly everything I wrote, but I think one of my things was like, if a department head says, I need this, that they could put in a request and say, if this is even remotely possible for the city budget, I need this money to fix these pipes.
Yeah.
And then the city manager is like, I get that, sign off on it, it's done. And you don't need an ordinance for that, you don't need amounts for that, it's just, it's between the responsible parties who know what they're talking about, and the oversight is built into the city structure of the department heads report to the city manager, right? I mean,
Okay,
but,
we will do that. We'll get, he and I will I'll get together and we'll start working on that.
I was in for that too.
yeah,
You in for that too?
she was the first in for that.
Oh,
I was the
great.
second.
I was head down.
Preferred with no eye
Yeah, don't make eye contact.
It was like somebody at the park.
No, I know how to do it. Don't make eye contact. Right, I know, I'm like,
Together, or do you want all three of us?
I'm, either way.
Doesn't matter.
Very good. Alrighty, we will delay that.
3 or 2?
3,
Okay.
but maybe 2. Okay. This is, again, this is one of those things, it's not glorious, it's not glamorous, and it's not exciting, but it's important.
yeah, I agree.
Very important.
This is foundational, fundamental, and, I keep coming back to the big picture. We're looking to allow more nimble response, more flexible to changing conditions, and goodness knows, in the environment we're living in now, it changes daily. But not necessarily giving them carte blanche to do
Yeah.
whatever, whenever,
And durable,
and durable, and
right?
sustainable.
Something that like,
Yeah,
it might not last forever, but
Yeah.
it at least stand a little bit of test of time, right?
yeah.
It's not instantly outdated and, yeah.
Okay, very good. I threw this in, I had brought this up, item D, a while back, and then we never came back to it. And I got this language, and this is just to be discussed, I'm not wedded to this language, but very simply that evaluating the city manager on an annual basis is a duty of the city commission in a, council manager form of government. And all this is really saying is you need to do this every year. I do know that Commissioner Simmon has already proposed a plan and a system for the city commission to be following. I think she's continuing to work on that with maybe one of the other commissioners. Excuse me. So my only thing about this is, that it stipulates in the charter that the city commission needs to do this on an annual basis, completed by a date to be determined by them. Because I think, Karen, we had been operating heretofore on the fiscal year for the mayor, city manager's evaluation, and she, I believe, has proposed to move it to the calendar year. However, that's up to them to decide. I would like to leave that up to them to decide.
What happens if they don't do it?
Well, as with anything in the charter, I asked that question. And really, it's up to them to police themselves, or if the public knows that they're not following the charter, then it's up to people to say something. There aren't really any serious teeth in this,
Yeah, like,
unless they're really stepping outside the law.
like the public could like sue the city for not following its own charter if the commission, like,
Well, like what happened with,
yeah.
yeah.
But it's not like built into the charter that like, this is how the city, a citizen should go about
No, it's
enforcing.
not. It's not. Yeah. So that's the answer to that question.
So,
It's just, from my perspective as a former commissioner, it's important, when I'm thinking about orienting newly elected members. This is one thing that should be getting talked about at the beginning, so that, all commissioners understand that they have a job to do this. How they do it is a question. Ideally, you want, the whole purpose of the system is, the city commission's responsibility to give the city manager his guidance through goals that the city commission has determined for the city. He or she, is responsible for carrying that out, addressing those needs. And it is that relationship then that forms the foundation for the evaluation. Did the job get done? How well did it get done? Were there any challenges or difficulties that needed to be addressed, and so on and so forth? A good example of that was when COVID hit. We were unable to do a lot of projects because of COVID. And then the ensuing problems with the construction stuff and delays and the interruptions in supply chains and all of that stuff. So, again, you have to be flexible to adapt for that kind of thing. But effectively, what the evaluation needs to do is evaluate those things with a metric that gives them usable data because ultimately the purpose is to decide whether to continue with them or terminate them. That's kind of what it comes down to. It's an instrument to underscore a decision to continue employment, just as it is with any employee evaluation. I had to live through it, you had to live through it, we've all had to live through it. So that's just where I'm coming from with that. And anyway.
I have a question with that. Is there a specific reason that is for the city manager and not all city officers? Because they're all hired by the city commission, not necessarily the city
They
itself.
don't answer to the city commission, they answer to the city manager. It's kind of this hierarchical thing. The city manager is hired by the city commission. And that's why that responsibility exists. Now, ideally, of course, all city employees should be getting evaluated by their department heads or by the city manager or whomever. That's ideally the situation.
And we do.
Annually.
Can we look at, just really quickly up there, this section that is that hand carry, I think that would be 6.6, an additional section to chapter 6. Does chapter 6 contain anything related to this process already?
I don't think so.
Chapter 6 is about the city commission. Is that what
Yeah.
is chapter 6?
It is about procedures for the city commission.
Okay, thanks.
No, it doesn't. I was thinking to insert it between 6.7 and 6.8,
There's,
compulsory attendance at meetings and committees.
and there's also the section that outlines like the responsibilities of the city or of the city manager.
Yeah,
Right.
that's, I think, chapter 3.
But this would be a responsibility for the manager as much as it would
Right,
be for
I get that, I'm just,
Right, but that goes into
it,
the hiring of them, being able to let them go, so it does make more sense to me to have it there rather than
it might
commission.
change the way that it's worded from the city commission shall or to the city manager will undergo a review of the city commission. I mean, it could end up, there could be sections in both, right? It seems to me to make sense that if you're gonna give a responsibility to the city commission about the city manager should know about it in their responsibilities and duties that like,
right up in there in the preamble with related to appointment. That talks about select and appoint or terminate.
Where are you looking?
3.8 preamble.
Oh, I see.
So make 3.9 or 3.10
Oh,
this section.
I mean, I think that there could be something even under 3.9. We have A through G, it looks like, or farther. I through J, like, I don't know, like, we're asking that the city commission set goals for the city manager, that seems like part of their responsibility is to meet the goals set forward by the city commission at the annual evaluation, right? Like that we should add something maybe just there, and then what we have here could go under the city, I don't know.
Yeah, just because it's a section on the duties of the city manager doesn't mean you can't have a statement in there that says the city manager or the city commission shall formally evaluate the city manager's performance, and it's still an instruction to the city commission.
I mean, like I said, I think it makes sense to put it in both. Like, I know it's a little bit redundant, but it's not that much text, and it seems like as much as this is a document for citizens of Big Rapids, right? Like, it's really more a document for the people working for the city of Big Rapids. It's like, any citizen should be able to pick this up and understand the gist of what most of it means. But ultimately, the people that are using it the most are the people that are referring to, well, what does the charter say I'm supposed to do? And like I said, if we're gonna put a requirement on the city manager, I feel like it should be something that they should be able to find under their own responsibilities in the charter.
Fair enough.
As should city commissioners, right? They should flip to their section and be like, what are we responsible for? And they should both be able to find it independently without having read the entire charter looking for surprises. Like, I can just see poor Mark Gifford. I didn't know about this because I didn't read that far. You buried it toward the
Item
end
12 subsection C, paragraph 2.
in the fine print.
340.
Okay, I can play with some language for that if you don't wanna, we don't necessarily need to hash that out in the meeting. I will play with some language for that and get that out to you and for our next meeting. Good? Okay. That is all I had for old business. I don't think we have, is there any new business I'm missing?
Got the two letters that are,
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
one's for the newspaper, one's for, just general, publication, Facebooks and social media, that's the crap I'm looking for. I'm gonna send them out, y'all had the opportunity to make changes and look at them, nobody looked at them, nobody made changes, so apparently they're great, so they're going out tomorrow. And I'm also working on a pop quiz, civics pop quiz, used as a bulletin board. Right now I've got 7 questions. The city of Big Rapids uses a charter to lay the foundation for the city, true or false? City of Big Rapids is revising its charter to bring it up to date, true or false? The Charter Revision Committee is sneaky and works secretly, true or false? The city does not have term limits for elected officials, true or false? The Charter Revision Committee is considering moving the purchasing rules from the charter to the ordinance. The charter revision will be voted on in 2026. At that time, you will be able to approve the parts you like. And the city relies on volunteers to staff the various boards needed to help run the cities. They're all gonna be true and false, and I'm gonna make a trifold little answer sheet that covers all of them things. And I'm gonna try and come up with about 3 more questions. So if you got any questions and you want any input, send them to me. If not, stand by. It's
Charter.
coming out.
Charter Revision Commission is considering allowing dogs to run for mayor. But only if they haven't served as a commissioner already.
Right, put it in there immediately.
I actually like that, 'cause it is a little bit tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, I mean, those are the ones that like, I think if you, like, we have like some suckers or something, like, if you can,
You guys
Tons of candy.
do everything. You have no idea what we're doing out there. You haven't come to see it. You don't know. You're telling us to put things out that's already out. You have no idea. You put no input in.
so,
I think we need
So I think-
t-shirts to say we're sneaky.
Yeah.
I'm liking this.
so, I think that trying to, potentially engage with people with this quiz is a really good idea, right? And be like, if you get so many right, you can have a piece of candy. I mean, you probably would
They get a piece of candy when they
Anyway, for participants.
Kind of
But
offensive.
people like to win, like people like to play, right? They wanna feel like there's something on the
Piece of
line.
candy is like what you do for high schoolers or students. It's gotta be
Do you
something,
really think that people grow up that much?
yeah. And I think that people
it's
are
like
pretty
we're-
easily offended when they feel like they're being talked down to.
Yeah. If it was a new car though, then they would.
I'm
go
not
for it.
saying we're good for that.
No, I know, I'm just like, that's how Oprah does it, right?
What I'm saying is,
We don't have Oprah money, okay?
Maybe we should
maybe
write
it's
to
not,
Oprah.
here you go, good kid, right answer. Maybe it's more like engage with us on this, hey, we happen to have snacks, we happen to have
people over. The kids would wander over for
convenience
sure.
items, we have, you know.
And then I would abduct them, just kidding.
Don't you just like
Their
mine?
parents.
At the Tony, was it the Tony Awards? Recently, Oprah Winfrey was in the audience. Did you see this?
She got a car.
They gave her a little toy car.
That's funny.
We could do little toy cars.
Might be able to give away toy cars.
Actually, Transformer.
We have a little Hot Wheels.
Transformer figures or something.
Yeah, see, then there could be a sign like, score high enough on the quiz, win a car.
There you go. We didn't just say what kind of car.
We didn't say
How
what
big it was. Because we're sneaky.
because we're sneaky.
I don't like the sneaky thing.
I love it.
I don't.
I do.
I mean, the answer is
Because you guys
false,
don't have to-
I was
right?
gonna say, no, people will yell at you.
This is handy every day.
Because the answer sheet's gonna have, no, this is what we do, this is when the meetings are, this is where you can find this information.
Yeah.
But I gotta get people's attention, I don't know of any other ways.
Think outside the box there.
Do a little dance.
Social media, are you talking about city
think so.
Facebook?
Charter
Yeah,
Vision
cities-
flash mob.
Rapids, wherever.
Charter Vision flash mob.
Flash mob, y'all be over by 8:10, we're gonna do a dance.
Oh my gosh.
The section 8.10 dance.
Oh, it's so
8:10.
unfortunate. I can see it in my head just so clearly.
I don't sit still well.
Some of this, a little bit of this.
What about a little bit of just,
And then at the end, this snow angel and all the documents.
You guys are killing me. Is there any other business order?
Why?
I think at our last meeting, we had suggested that we try to determine, do you remember how many sections that we wanted to really revise at the last meeting?
I thought there were like 6. I know one of the sections we can't change due to statute.
So that's the malfeasance
Right.
one.
But that wasn't like a big.
All the fees and
All the
fees.
feasances.
I think that we found, at least so far, that like saying something more engaging in the newsletter isn't going to bring a lot of people to our meeting. But we did get some engagement, so if we could maybe determine any section that we would like to cover for the next meeting that we can put in the newsletter. I'm just trying to
We can
follow
put
up on
little
what we.
things on Facebook and stuff too. I mean, we are getting hits on our Facebook. Steve's doing a good job with the videos and all that.
Yeah.
So it's getting more engagement, so we can start putting, I don't know how we would do a video. necessarily for that,
What
but-
is,
The
you have that list
What
that you
about just the
provided?
true or false questions,
Pardon?
one at a time? Like, what if we just did like screen captures of those, true or false? And then the post can, or even, you know, put it as a poll in the post and just say, you know,
Work.
quick fact, true or false, the Charter Revision is doing this, and then it's just,
And then just answer it then.
yeah.
People can't comment on our Facebook posts, but they could look at it.
Maybe we should try to create like one of those online quizzes. And the city could share it.
Well, Facebook will let you ask polls and you
Yeah,
can.
that's what I'm thinking, just,
Only, will they, you can't do it on your personal page, you can do it in a group. I don't know that the city can do it.
yeah, I think they can.
I know I've wanted to create Facebook polls just on my own personal and they won't let you. I've only found that I'm able to create polls on Facebook within Facebook groups specifically. I have not tried to do it as like a page, so I don't know whether a page can or not.
What are you gonna do with this first one, Your Voice Matters? You said you're gonna put this on Facebook?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna give it to Steve and let him do that. I'm gonna put it on Ask Big Rapids and gonna put it on my own personal page and I'm
Yeah.
gonna throw it everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was gonna say, cause Steve could put together some,
So what you could do, even if you could, do it within the poll within the post, is do what I was saying, like a screenshot of it and then have it be a link to wherever the poll is posted. I could do it as a second,
Like Google.
like Google.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking, is that like the Facebook group or city could just share a link to take this fun quiz.
And literally just collect the answer true or false, so you don't have any worry about data handling or anything like that. It's literally just single answer.
Yeah, well, I mean, ideally, I would like people who fill it out to get a score, right? Like you got 5 out of 7 right.
No, I'm
These are the
saying-
things that you need to know.
No, here's what I'm saying this is an engagement tool. Do it one question at a time.
Okay.
Just have them go out and answer the question, but they may not even do that. It's just to get them looking at the question and thinking about what the subject.
number 2, we don't have that many holes right now.
Yeah.
We just, a couple meetings ago, counted a whole bunch of people. So let's,
Scratch the lots of.
scratch that one for right now if you would, and then we can get together at number 2,
That's awesome though.
volunteer. I mean, we still have a few holes, but I wouldn't say we have lots of open seats because we don't.
Not that means they won't open up.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but I mean, literally, I can show you the list.
Well, that's
I mean, then
encouraging.
leave it, I don't care, it's fine.
It really is.
Yeah, it's all good, I just,
Okay.
also don't want people screaming at me when I don't have a home forum,
Right?
but.
I want to sit on a board. I was told there were seats.
That's how conspiracy theories start.
Jennifer, you had asked if I had the list
Yeah.
of topics. So we had the preamble, which
Right.
again is gonna be a later thing. Business owners, being on city boards, which I feel like from the survey could go either way. So it might be a question of whether or not it's worth our energy to try to fix it. The new section 4.9 was unlawful discrimination in civil rights. 5.5 term limits and filling empty commissioner seats. I feel like based on the survey, it may, unless we feel strongly, it might not be worth us changing the number of term limits, but just focusing on separating commissioner from mayor, so that way you do get that increase if someone wants to go from one to the other. That might be like a good middle of the road thing, and the limited feedback we do have does seem to support that. But that might be an easy resolution for us to wrap that up and revisit later if we want to. The purchasing procedure, removal of members of the board of review, section 9.3. Defining specific terms that we think are relevant, and then changing dates.
So
I'm gonna try.
maybe section 5 that you were just talking about would be something that we would advertise for our next meeting.
Which part of the section? Chapter 5.
That's the term limits and
Oh, the term limits.
seats.
Mm, 5.5.
9.2.
9.3 was removal of members of the board of review, but I don't recall what that actually is. But 5.5 might be a good one to publicize for next time and see if we can get additional feedback.
Like any-
Targeting that.
Any engagement, it seems like something that people might actually want to engage with, and we have some leads on how we might tackle it, so. good idea to me, at least.
Do we want, there are a whole bunch of ways people can contact us. And we have our email address. Excuse me, they can call us, they can, have our, so we want to make clear, the ways that people can submit their input. And, the question I wanted to ask you all was, and for something like, for that issue might draw out more people, the term limits, because we tried floating that before. Do you want to have at any time a specific public input session that's not just public comment, but a public input session time built into
Let's let public,
our next meetings?
maybe public comment, well, the only problem is we dedicate that time for public input and then we don't get.
Nobody shows up. Or we can just use a public comment.
Maybe we see from public comment, if there's enough, leave the agenda a little flexible and a little extra time at the end, or allocate time for it at the beginning. And then if there's so much feedback that we can't fit it all in with the meeting, then that's an indication to us that we need a second session with, it's just directed at public input.
I think it would be a great problem to have if we have too many people here.
I'm just not convinced we're gonna.
That's what I'm saying, like, let's not, like, too
So we'll
worry
just
about
leave
problems
it-
that we don't have yet, right? Too much, I mean,
Remember the one meeting we got so excited when people kept wandering in and
And they were all looking for the planning mission.
oh,
So,
by the end, we were just like, the meeting's across the street.
we need t-shirts that say like sneaky planning commission.
Ask me where to
Just
find it.
kidding.
Free coffee and donuts.
Sneaky like that.
All you need to do is sign this.
So that 5.5, do you want that on the next newsletter, the July newsletter, or term limits? Do you want a section to explain it more instead of just a little box? Do you want?
I don't know, what does everyone else think? Again, we didn't get much feedback this time, so switching it up's not.
But maybe it's a chance to educate people, even if they don't.
I wouldn't say that we're going to discuss it. If, let's say we are inviting public comment on this. And our next meeting, our next regular meeting is July 5th. Whatever that is. That can't be right.
Yeah, I think that's a good
July
way to
9th.
frame it.
I don't know if, actually that was pretty visible on the newsletter, so obviously people saw that, so if Steve could continue to do that in the charter corner, make the charter corner, and just say, at our next regular meeting, you have the opportunity to provide comments about this.
But I think if they don't understand what they are now, is that gonna draw you to come and find out? I don't know.
I think most people understand the concept of term limits and have an opinion on it. And maybe a way to get them there is to invite them to come and,
You don't know what ours are. Do you think that doesn't matter?
I think they know that they want terms to be limited.
You use what was in this page?
Well, you can put that little educational blurb.
The term limits for acting, just,
Yeah.
use that. Right now, you can serve 12. Just use that.
Yeah.
That will give us
Yeah.
something to start with.
Exactly so.
Yeah.
I just think a base to
We're,
kind of.
Yeah.
Makes sense, I guess, but-
Yeah, so
Well, and then of
that
course-
little section at the top, term limits for elected leaders, and then come to the next meeting and share your thoughts. Or email, or
Jennifer.
call Karen, this is her cell phone number.
Karen loves visitors when she's busy.
Guys, right now.
All you need to do is go up to the window and tap.
I don't care if they come to the window, not my cell phone.
What occurred to me with this, is in the charter, of course, if you serve the 12 years, you have to step off for a year before you can run again. So it's not a consecutive 20 years, let's say, if someone were to do 12 on the commission and then get elected 8 years, two terms as mayor, there's still a break in. But I like what Foster suggests, come share your thoughts. Let us know what you're thinking, that kind of stuff. That sounds good. So we will plan on talking, having that on the agenda for the next meeting. Hopefully some folks come. Now, okay, let me back up here for a second. How likely is it on July 9th, right after the July 4th holiday, that we're gonna get people in?
But I think the point is, there's always something, right?
There's always something,
We
okay.
There's always a reason people
I don't have a
are here.
problem.
And the real reason is probably.
July 4th will be filled with patriotism and looking
Okay.
5 days
Right,
ahead
let's
of their
bring that
opportunity
in.
to
I
take
mean,
part in local
Local
government.
government,
I think that in some ways we it's, my own fault. We missed an opportunity to have like a 4th of July charter revision.
Picnic.
Yeah, or hot dogs, I don't know, but I mean like,
Want a hot dog?
I know, I'm like,
Get away from
just like
hot
an
dogs.
ev- an-
I just-
an
I can't
event.
emphasize that
Yeah.
enough.
okay, cookies, you know what I mean, like, cookies are
It is
good.
Wiener Wednesday.
It's itching to be a headline and we
what's-
don't want it to be.
But like what's the 4th of July? It's like hot dogs and fireworks and like water balloons, you know what I mean, like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
some kind of 4th of July event that we missed the opportunity to tie our charter to the 4th of July in a way that engaged the public. I don't think there's enough time.
Anyone's gonna talk to us at a 4th of July celebration if I can't get them to talk to us at a farmer's market.
What if we print out a life-size charter on Lake Constitution?
Can we get a
it's like
mascot?
the Declaration of Independence.
Blow up, oh,
Costume.
there we go.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order?
We all dress as founding
We're all-
fathers, hand out hot dogs.
All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. This is good creative ideas.
I'm looking forward to the public input component of this, though, however we finally
Yeah.
get it going, because I think that's where we make a lot of ground.
We gotta look at our budget for